During the last 40 years, I've been traveling around the world, reporting on the customs and traditions that give meaning to our lives. During those years, I discovered that the ones that were most valuable to me were the ones that gave me a sense of inner peace and self-knowledge. A couple of years ago, I told a friend of mine that I was interested in taking a break from traveling around the outside world and wanted to make a trip to the inside to find out more about my own feelings and how they might relate to the universal themes of life. He suggested that I take a look at the teachings of a man named Prem Rawat. Prem, who is also known as Maharaji, is originally from India and has been speaking to people around the world for about 30 years. He talks about the possibility of knowing contentment in our lifetime. He points out that the forces of modern society may stimulate our desires and drive us outward in a search for happiness, but lasting happiness can only be found within you. Like most people, I am interested in inner peace and self-knowledge. But as a journalist, I am particularly skeptical of anybody who tries to show me how to find it. In spite of that cynicism, I attended 2 lectures by Prem, and I found his message to be timely and quite significant and quite entertaining. And most surprisingly, some of the things he said actually helped me solve some problems that I was having with my family. I want to point out that I am not a student of Prem Rawat. I am a journalist interested in his story and his message, and he's very open about that. He says that the things that he teaches are significant to some people, but not to others. My conversations with Prem were taped over the course of several months in Malibu, California. We talked about his life, my life, what is going on in the world today, what makes people happy, what makes us sad, and how one can choose to live. You teach a simple and practical process of self-discovery and self-knowledge. What do you mean when you say self-knowledge?
Sometimes when we look at this world, look at all the things that we're surrounded by, and it's only natural for us to start judging ourselves and comparing ourselves in different ways to all the things that are around us. After all, what is success, what is failure comes from that. But then just for a minute, contemplate one thing, that you're you, and that you is yourself. And that which can bring you in touch with that self is self-knowledge.
How do you get to that place? How do you begin to learn about yourself?
Well, let's take the same principle and go to this one other place. You know, all our lives we try to reason, logic. So many people are living in that reason. So many people are completely indulging themselves every day. Well, now I have done this, so I must be okay. Now I can do this, so I must be okay. But you know, there's something more than reason, and that is feeling. Feeling is far, far more important than reason. And the process begins with understanding that distinction. There is all my logic, and then there is a feeling. And when I start to acknowledge in my life this one valuable tool that I have been given, which is I can feel. I don't have to reason everything. I can feel too. Then you start to enter in the realm of self-knowledge. Because that's what self-knowledge is going to be. It's going to be a feeling. Peace is a feeling. Happiness is a feeling. Something has been placed inside of you. People have called it happiness. People have called it serenity, tranquility, joy, bliss. It doesn't matter what words you use. But what does matter is that you feel it. The benefits, you will then be the judge of what the benefit is.
Do you think that there's any relationship between self-knowledge And science?
Science is a way of explaining what exists. Science can never explain to you why a sunrise looks so beautiful.
Why? Now that you've raised that issue, I've seen hundreds of sunsets. I've enjoyed them. I've never understood why will I walk to the end of a pier to see a sunset. Why do I do that?
Because the beauty is within you, calling out to you to appreciate, to enjoy what is enjoyable. And it is in this narrow realm that self-knowledge exists. Appreciate, enjoy, because something beautiful has been placed within you.
Talk to me about God.
Another one of those wonderful things that you need to feel. There are so many fathers. Maybe the child comes to them and says, Dad, tell me about God. How about being a little sincere? How about being a little honest, patting your son on the back and saying, Son, I'm looking for him too. You find him before me, call me. I find him before you, I'll call you. And let's both feel. Enjoy this journey of that search. Let the search come from the heart, not from reasoning. Today, too many people have reasoned God. Not felt, but reasoned God. And what happens? God gets put in a box. All of a sudden, I can say to you, oh, by the way, my God's better than yours. How can that be? How can that be? When, whether it is an African tribe digging up a tuber root, extracting the water from it so they can quench the thirst, or it is a person in New York who's sitting in a very fancy restaurant and raises his finger and asks for water. Quenching is exactly the same for both of them, whether it's Africa or it's New York.
What are some of the thirsts that we have? You use that metaphor in a very nice way.
Thirst to be content. Thirst to be fulfilled. A thirst in itself just wants to be quenched. Now I can give it reasoning. Oh, I think this will quench my thirst. God will quench my thirst. Feeling God will quench your thirst, not reasoning.
What about religion? It's a complicated issue in the environment today.
People see a need for them. And nobody should sit there and judge a religion, good or bad. It is not your business.
Do you think that religion can help you find yourself, find the knowledge?
Those people who follow it feel it fulfills some need in them. And that's why they follow it. And no more needs to be said than just that.
You grew up in India. Tell me about your childhood there.
Oh, I had a very fascinating childhood. I had 3 elder brothers, and we kind of got along like brothers do. I don't think in that sense it was any different. But then I started speaking to people. My father, he would speak. So before he would come on, I'd see people scattered here and there. In India, everybody's got something happening. So I'd get on the stage and I'd start speaking to them. And that, they would just go, fascinating, this little kid speaking.
How old were you?
Oh, I was around 6 years old. That's when I started to talk. And they would all start coming together and sitting down and listening to this little boy speak. And then when everybody had kind of settled down, I'd just say, okay, tell my father they're all ready to listen to him.
You were the opening act for your father. That's amazing. Tell me about your father.
Oh, just amazing. I mean, for me, more than just father. Because he also taught me this incredible art of self-knowledge.
How old were you when you did that?
I was about 7.
Tell me more about your father's life, what he did.
He through his effort, reached and made those people who were willing to give him the opportunity to touch their heart so that they could again in their life begin that journey of enjoyment, begin that process of enjoyment. He was giving them the opportunity to have self-knowledge in their lives.
When he gave you your own sense of self-knowledge, how did that happen?
Well, we had been listening to what he had to say. And at some point, he must have felt that, yes, there was a genuine thirst that we had. He invited all the brothers into the living room and said, "Do you want this?" And that's very important. That's very, very important. Do you want this? Not, here it is. Do you want this? Because now you are taking responsibility for having that discipline that you need to have towards self-knowledge. And you can say no. It's not a problem. And I don't remember what their answer was, my brother's answers were, but I remember mine. Yes, I do. It was a gift. What was being given to me was a way to connect inside, to go inside and feel a simple, beautiful, profound feeling. But whether I was going to do that or not, that was incumbent upon me. And when I said yes to that gift, I took that responsibility.
It's not easy to fully understand yourself. Self-knowledge takes a discipline.
Yes.
You have a wonderful story about knowledge coming drop by drop like the water in a cave. Tell me that story.
You look at a river, and you look at the mighty river, and it's, wow, look at all this water, look at the flow. And look at all the things that that river influences on both its shores. And yet if you were to journey up that river and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going, you'll get to a point where you will see not a river, but a drop. And all those drops come together and form this mighty, mighty river. Looking at the river, you can't imagine its gentleness of a drop, just like the gentleness of the moment called now. That's your drop. That's how this life begins. That's how this dance begins. Mighty power in this world, and a humble drop called now. Not a question of discipline, question of understanding, appreciation. How can you be without it?
Love that story. What is the sense that you have of our existence before and after this moment that we're in now?
My sense is, why am I worried about those things? Why am I not worried about right now? Why am I pretending I've captured it all? Now I have the luxury to think about what's going to happen after I go away. People get so caught up in heaven and hell. Heaven and hell is here. It's here. It's happening right in front of your eyes. It's manifesting. Behold this magnificent beauty. Open your eyes. This is not the time to close them. There will be the time to close your eyes. And you will have them closed for a long, long time.
I was thinking this morning about the value of the things that you teach and how they work. And I thought, if I close my eyes and just let my mind wander, it goes from thought to thought to thought to thought. There may be 10 thoughts in 60 seconds. That if my body was as uncoordinated and uncontrolled as my mind, I would never make it across the street alive. And what you are teaching people is to stay focused in this moment.
A lot of people get into, let me control my mind, into what they call mind control. I say to people, that's one thing you can't control. It doesn't have a steering wheel on it. It has no means of controlling. Don't get into that, because it is the mind that will come along and say, you should control me, just try. No, there's another way. And the way is to feel that passion, to feel that love, to feel that which self-knowledge brings, because that's what self-knowledge is that bridge to within, to go within and to feel. Not to think about it, but to feel it. Because in front of feeling, reasoning and thought give way, they yield. This is that difference again between reason and feeling. Reason and feeling.
So you're beginning to teach in India. How do you know? What made you feel at that tender age that you had the ability to impart knowledge?
I have a gift. I've been given a gift. I'm very thankful for that gift. But I have a gift. And that gift is what allows me to be in touch with that and to be able to express it. Not everybody can paint. That doesn't mean that they can't feel, but they can't express it, can't bring it to canvas. I have that gift which can bring that feeling to the canvas. I can paint. And I paint with my words. I paint with my expression. I paint with my feelings.
Why do you think so many of the traditions about searching for self-knowledge come out of India?
I think people are searching everywhere. Everywhere. It's not so defined. In India, there is a lot more definition to search. This is what it means, this is how you should do it, this is how you start. But in essence, we're all searching. The search comes from the heart. We search for it. Search for that bliss, search for that truth, search for that beauty. As soon as we start to feel that it does exist, as soon as we can somehow, and this may sound extremely mysterious, but it's that feeling that when that stirs inside, when the heart starts to seek, the search begins.
You use the word bliss. That's a very interesting word. What does it mean to you?
To me, bliss is that same thing as happiness, as joy, of being in a state, of being in a place, of being in that groove, if you will, where the heart dances and you allow it to dance.
To follow your own bliss, seek it out.
Yes.
Tell me about meditation.
Again, meditation is one of these things that has got an awful lot of rubber stamping going on with it. A lot of people think, well, if I sit down quietly somewhere and try to control my thoughts, that's meditation. A lot of people think if I sit down and I think only about positive things, that's meditation. It is not a question of sitting in a form that looks like you're practicing this inner meditation and saying, oh yes, I'm meditating, because what's going on inside? Am I calm enough? Am I calm enough? Have I achieved it? I have achieved it. I have achieved. See, that's the stuff that's so funny.
I know so well what you were talking about.